This is your macroeconomic video on long-run aggregate supply. So we've talked about the vertical long-run aggregate supply line. Now we're going to talk about why that is. You know that you're going to label your vertical long-run line with Y sub n, n standing for the natural rate of unemployment, which is the lowest amount of unemployment a good economy can have without triggering inflation. This is also referred to as potential output, or more commonly, full employment output. You'll often hear it referred to as full employment or full employment equilibrium if the aggregate supply and demand lines are right on top of your long-run aggregate supply. Now, let's say that we're at here price level number 1. This long-run supply line is still a supply. So it is about the production and manufacturing of goods, which of course is dependent upon inputs: land, labor, capital, technology, and entrepreneurship. So Y sub n is the amount of real GDP we can produce, assuming we're at the natural rate of unemployment for our country, which is around 4 to 5%, and the amount of land, labor, capital, and other inputs that we have available at the time. So assuming those things are true, this is the amount of real GDP we could produce, and let's assume we're at price level number 1. If there's an increase in price level, then it means that it doesn't affect any of these things in the short run. Remember, classical dichotomy theory says that it's only the short run that nominal things are affected, because in the long run, income is going to raise to meet the new price level. And if your income rises at the same rate that prices rose, you can still pay your bills. It's when your income stays the same due to sticky wages and prices rise that suddenly people have trouble paying the bills or buying healthcare for their family or feeding their family. But in the long run, everything evens out. Literally, the long run is defined as a time period when incomes have adjusted to changes in prices. So the long run is representative of classical dichotomy theory and monetary neutrality. So any event that changes one of your shifters of short-run supply is also a shifter of long-run supply, just in the long run. Think of the long run as 20 years and think of the short run as 6 months to 2 years. So let's say that there's a long-term change to our country's immigration plan, and we start to allow more immigrants into the country. That's going to increase the number of workers that are available. We have more total workers, and let's say this policy lasts for a long time. Our total potential YN, or real GDP that we can produce with a 4 to 5% unemployment rate, is going to be higher because we have more total people, even if the percentage of unemployment is still in the 4 to 5% range. So that would increase our total long-run aggregate supply. And as our economy grows and gets more diversified and we have different people or we have more education, all of those things can change our long-run potential economy and therefore shift long-run to the right, hopefully. So here's what this looks like over time. Let's say that this is the US economy in 1980. We've got our potential economy with a YN in 1980 of 4 to 5% unemployment and aggregate demand. But over time, our economy changes. So by 1990, we have more goods and services. People have invented the internet and people have created new technology products. So lots of new things are supplied, and guess what? People want to buy them, and that's going to increase. By 2000, we get even more inventions and supplies of goods and services. So as we create and invent and create entrepreneurship, all of that long-run supply is increasing, and the demand for people wanting to buy some of those products which are created also goes up. So slowly, your entire aggregate supply and demand graph is moving slightly to the right and up over long periods of time. Now, this is kind of imperceptible, which is why we mostly look at aggregate demand and short-run aggregate supply, which bounce around the long-run line. But over long periods of time, the long run line also changes because this is our goal economy with our current resources. And of course, those current resources can change for long periods of time.